What if you could buy a single vehicle that replaces your SUV, your camper van, and your weekend getaway cabin all at once? That is the question the Stelato G9 forces you to answer. This is not a car review. This is an intervention for anyone who has ever stared at their garage and wished for something more absurd. The G9 is a machine of extremes. It is longer than 5 meters too. It is wider than 2 meters. It is tall enough that you will need to check the clearance at your local multi-story car park. And yet, it can turn around in a space that would make a golf blush. It has a kitchen built into its tailgate. It has a bedroom that rises from its roof at the push of a button. And it does all of this while carrying enough battery technology to rival a small power station. This is not a niche product for the fringe overlanding crowd. This is a vehicle that fundamentally rethinks what a family car can be. Let us start with the size because it is the first thing that hits you and the last thing you will forget. 5 meters, 206 millimeters without the rear storage box. 5 meters, 377. With it, that puts it in the same league as the longest luxury SUVs from Germany and Britain. 2 meters 50 wide, 1 meter 897 tall in standard form, rising to just over 2 meters when you add the factory roof tent. That tent is not an afterthought. It is a fully integrated, electrically operated structure that deploys from the roof rails. In the real world, this means one thing. If you have a low ceiling in your parking spot, you either skip the tent or you find a new place to park. It is a deliberate choice that defines the character of this car from the very first glance. But the scale is only half the story. Underneath that boxy, angular bodywork lies a chassis that thinks it is a sports car. The G9 uses a dual-chamber, valve air suspension system with active anti-roll bars that can physically disconnect to let the wheels droop and articulate when the road ends. That is the sort of hardware you expect on a high-end off-road specialist. Then there is the rear axle steering, at up to 12 degrees of opposite phase rotation. This system gives a vehicle of this size a turning radius that competes with vehicles a full meter shorter. That is a game changer for urban driving. You are piloting a bus that parks like a hatchback, and that contradiction is the first hint that the G9 is not playing by the usual rules. Now, consider the powertrain. The G9 comes in 2 flavors, pure electric with a massive 120 kilowatt-hour battery, or range extender hybrid with a smaller battery and a petrol generator that pushes total range past 1,300 kilometers. That latter number is key, 1,300 kilometers. That is enough to cross France from north to south without stopping for fuel. That is a weekend road trip through the Alps without range anxiety. That is the point at which the argument against electric vehicles collapses entirely. And whether you choose pure electric or hybrid, the base architecture is 800 volts, which means charging times that are measured in coffee breaks, not lunch hours. Let us step inside because this is where the G9 reveals its true ambition. The interior is a deliberate rejection of the minimalism that has dominated modern car design. There are physical buttons everywhere, not the cheap plastic kind, but solid. Sculpted controls that beg to be pushed. 4 buttons on the overhead console let you control external power outlets for roof-mounted lights or accessories. 4 more on the center console give you instant access to the 360-degree cameras, a 5-minute recording mode for capturing scenic drives, and even an external loudspeaker that lets you talk to people outside without rolling down the window. There is a dedicated button for the glove box. There is a dedicated button for the air suspension height. There is a dedicated button for the rear differential lock, which is a mechanical unit, not an electronic brake simulation. That means a real set of gears inside the rear axle that physically locks the 2 wheels together. This is a vehicle that respects the driver's desire for control, and it gives you the tools to exercise that control directly. The centerpiece of this control obsession is the variable damping knob. It sits on the center console like a jewel, and it behaves like nothing else on the market. In its default state, it cycles through driving modes. When you turn it, the resistance is heavy. The detents are pronounced. Each click feels like a decision. But if you customize that knob to control the stereo volume, something magical happens. The resistance disappears, the detents soften. The knob spins with the silky smoothness of a precision instrument. The car physically changes the knob's behavior based on what you ask it to do. That is not a gimmick. That is a level of tactile feedback that acknowledges the driver as a human being with different needs at different moments. It is the sort of detail that makes you smile every time you use it, and it is the sort of detail that most premium brands still overlook. Now we arrive at the roof. The electric tent deploys from a flat aerodynamic housing that sits flush with the roofline. Press the button, and the entire structure rises on electrically actuated Z-shaped hinges. The process takes about 20 seconds, The tent interior is accessed from inside the cabin. You open the panoramic sunroof, push aside the bed platform, and climb straight up. No muddy shoes on the exterior bodywork. No fumbling with poles and pegs in the rain. The tent itself is equipped with a millimeter wave radar that detects movement inside. If a pet or a child is still in the tent when you try to close it, the system will stop and reverse. That is a safety feature that speaks volumes about the thought that went into this product. The tent is not an afterthought. It is a primary function of the vehicle. Move to the tailgate and the kitchen story unfolds. The G9 has a side-hinged rear door. The interior panel of that door can be removed and replaced with a comprehensive kitchen module. This is not a third-party accessory. It is an official Stelato product that must be installed by a service center because it routes water and electricity through the tailgate structure. The module includes a 2,100-watt instant hot water dispenser, a sink, and a 600-watt ceramic hot plate. That hot plate is not an induction unit. That is critical. Induction cooktops generate fluctuating magnetic fields that can interfere with the vehicle's sensitive electronics. The ceramic hot plate is a resistive heater that works with any type of cookware, including glass and ceramic. The only downside is its surface gets extremely hot, so it is a burn hazard if you're not careful, but it means you can boil water, fry an egg, or cook a full meal anywhere you park. The water supply comes from portable containers stored in the boot, and the module includes a separate line for non-drinking water, which means you can wash dishes or even take an outdoor shower without depleting your drinking reserves. The implications of that kitchen are profound. You are not just buying a car, you are buying a self-contained mobile base. With the roof tent and the tailgate kitchen, the G9 turns a standard camping trip into a glamping expedition. You sleep above the car in a temperature-controlled space. You cook at the back without setting up a separate table. You pack up in minutes and drive away without leaving a trace. That is the promise of this vehicle, and it is a promise that no other production car currently delivers. Who is this vehicle actually for? It is for the family that wants to explore without compromise. It is for the couple that dreams of crossing entire continents without booking a single hotel. It is for the enthusiast who appreciates the engineering depth of a dual-valve air suspension and the tactile satisfaction of a variable damping knob. It is for anyone who has ever looked at a camper van and wished it drove like a luxury car. Who should walk away if your idea of adventure involves carrying a kayak on the roof or towing a horse trailer? This is not the tool for you. The roof tent consumes the roof space you would use for cargo, and the towing capacity, while respectable, is not going to match a heavy-duty pickup. If you live in a dense city with tiny parking spaces and low ceilings, the G9 will be a constant source of stress. Its size is its defining feature, and in the wrong environment, that feature becomes a liability. If you prefer simplicity and repairability over integrated technology, this is a complicated machine with a lot of software that can fail. Fixing a LiDAR unit on a remote trail is not going to happen. The Stelato G9 is not a vehicle for everyone. It is a vehicle for someone who refuses to compromise between luxury, capability, and adventure. It is a statement that you can have your weekend getaway and your daily commute in the same package. It is proof that the automotive industry is finally starting to think beyond the traditional categories. This is the first vehicle you can live in that also fits in a single parking spot.